So the full 19,000 FC25 player base has now been officially released, and there is so many trading sort of plays we can take away from it. So let's go through that in today's video. So between now and the 6th of October, I'm going to be uploading a daily free eafc25 trading guide. This will include everything to do on the web app to make as many coins as possible with both trading and investing. I'll be talking about the full release, what we expect to see regarding the market, and there'll also be a daily updated investing guide, all in there, updated every day for free. No gimmicks whatsoever, all you gotta do is click on the Google Docs link on the top link of the description. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about EA releasing the full 19,000 player database with all information we didn't have previously, such as playstyle, I guess the minor playstyles, what cards were rare and what cards were non-rare, and yeah, there's basically loads and loads of stuff we can take away from trade in terms of like trading plays. I've got about 5 plays we can take away from having this database. Now, if you guys didn't know, we obviously had the leaked database almost for the best part of about, I'd say about 2.5 to 3 weeks now. But now we've got the official database, and you may say, well, you know, what's the difference? The players are the exact same as that were leaked, you know. There isn't really too much difference. Well, again, there are a few things we can take away that really help us for trading, and a lot of it is to do with if cards were rare or if cards were non-rare. So one of the first things we're going to talk about is meta cards that are non-rare. Now, I'm not going to lie, it has been an absolute nightmare to find out what cards are rare and what cards are non-rare. And the reason for this is because the database, at least in the small picture, shows every card as non-rare. But surprisingly, Mbappe's not going to be a 91 rated non-rare. It's only when you actually click on the cards can you see if it's a rare or not. Which means to source these players, I've had to individually click on like every single card, or I had to click on a lot of cards to see if they're rare or non-rare. You might say, oh, well, just go to Footbin. Footbin will show if they're rare or non-rare. Sadly, Footbin just shows every single card as rare. So for example, if I was going to go for Fabian Schär, and I go and click on Fabian Schär, it says that Fabian Schär is rare. But if I was to go over here and I wanted to go and grab Fabian Schär, if we can go and grab Fabian Schär there, it will show me that Fabian Schär is in fact non-rare. So the only way of seeing what cards are rare and what cards are non-rare is me literally manually clicking on them every one. So yeah, it's spent a fair bit of time doing my research, but let's go and walk you guys through what I've learned and what I can teach you guys. Now, the first thing is I found a bunch of meta players that are non-rare. Now, there's 2 ways you can work this in your favour. One, if you like the cards, because they're non-rare, they're very unlikely to cost anything, well, at least we'll talk about Adeyemi because he's by far the most meta one. Anything more than 10k, you might say, well, 10k is quite peak for a non-rare. Well, we actually have to go back about 2 years ago since we found a non-rare, probably as in demand as Adeyemi, and that takes us back to Ben Godfrey. Ben Godfrey from the release of the game was 9.5k. He managed to hold 9k all the way until Ultimate Edition, and then he dropped a fair bit. Now again, we haven't really had a meta non-rare this price for absolutely ages. If a non-rare was super expensive, it would have been for an advanced SBC. So, what is why is it good that we have these expensive high-rated, not even high-rated, but these expensive non-rares? Well, non-rares get affected a lot more with supply than rares. So, for example, at the beginning, let's say not many packs are being opened whatsoever, and a lot of people are going to discard Adeyemi without even looking, because a lot of people will just go off the presumption that a non-rare is not worth anything. Even if Adeyemi looks like a really good card, you know, a lot of times people just can't be. If people are ripping hundreds of, I don't know, let's say hundreds of packs, they're not really looking at everything. You know, obviously you look for big pools, you look for walkouts, but a card like this can very much go under the radar with people not being aware that it probably is going to be worth about, I'd say 7 to 10k, maybe 10, 12k. It'll obviously depend on the price range. Depends if EA themselves are aware that he should be an expensive card. But yeah, his card looks really nice. He's got himself obviously the quick step playstyle, which, you know, non-rares having playstyles like this is very rare. Obviously he's got himself 4-star skills, 4-star weak fit. He's actually the second fastest player in the game, just under Mbappe, if I can go and grab it right here. So obviously here are all the ratings. If I scroll to the bottom, there you go. Fastest player. He's literally in the top 10, and the only other player close to him, who I guess is low rated, is Minte, and we'll be covering him in a second because he's also got this super rare sort of insane card. But yeah, so Adeyemi should be a very high in demand sort of card, but he's non-rare, stuff we haven't had for 2 years. So how are we going to go and trade with this? Well, like I was saying earlier, you know, if this was a 79 rated rare, in theory, a lot more people are going to be keeping the card. A lot more people are going to be listing the card. I'll be honest with you, the card probably is worth more if it's rare, But because it's non-rare, it means that its supply is going to be affected a lot more. Which means if there's a bunch of 7.4, basically the card should be quite rare on the market despite being a non-rare. It's quite hard to keep up with. And it basically means any sort of increase in supply or any sort of packs that are open. So for example, let's say we get a generic SBC and it gives everyone 25k packs. This card should get quite significantly supplied then. Then let's say we've got marquee matchups and a lot of people are, they're getting like mixed packs, 25k packs, so on. He should get supplied quite nicely there. And the trends we should see with him are the same sort of trends we see with silvers when we go into marquee matchups. So sometimes in the year we have silvers that end up getting quite expensive. Sometimes we've got the League SBCs and silvers go up to like 3-4k. Sometimes we get Evos and silvers go up to 10k. And these silvers are normally quite expensive all through a week until they get supplied. And then when they get supplied, what happens is they get absolutely butchered in price for about 4 hours. The supply then stops and they actually rise up until the next time they get supplied. So what does this mean? This means with someone like Adeyemi, I've got a few other examples but I don't think they would quite be as expensive. We've got Abdelhamid, who obviously I think went from being a gold rare to now as a non-rare in the Serie A. I think this card, it could be a K, maybe even up to 2k. Adama Traore, he's just a legendary FIFA player. I think he's probably about a K. And Correa, again, I think is probably also about a K, maybe pushing 2k. So nowhere near as close as Adeyemi, but these are all you're going to be able to follow the same sort of trend with these. And that is that, again, anytime these cards are supplied, you're going to go and buy them around about 10 PM. And then you're going to hold on to them and sell them the next day about 3-4 PM before the 6 PM supply. And this is just all to do with I guess the saturation of packs being opened. Obviously, there's loads of packs being opened between about 6 PM to 7 PM. Then it'll slow down, but there's still more Adeyemis being packed than supplied. And that should happen for, again, a few hours. Then we get to 10 PM. And then what will happen from 10 PM is people start buying stuff. We then get through to the following morning. It's kind of flat. And then the following morning through to about 6 PM content. No one's really packing Adeyemi, but they'll be back buying him for the team. And that trend should occur for Abdelhamid, Adama Traore, and Thierry Correa. And now the same sort of thing for silvers. Now, like I was saying earlier about Minte. Minte has got a extremely nice card. For some reason, I don't actually have the card up here, so let me go and get it up for you guys. There we go. So I was just looking through some sort of meta silvers, and I came across this card, and I thought, you've got Playstyle Plus. This is a silver card with a Playstyle Plus. Not only has it got Playstyle Plus, it's also got quite a monstrous card. Obviously, 95 pace, 79 dribbling. It's a bit crazy that he wasn't made a gold card, but hey. But yeah, and then I kind of looked at it and thought, yeah, he actually does have a Playstyle Plus. But this card is like significantly better than any of these guys who have Playstyle Pluses. Because they all have long throw, yet they gave him quick step, which again just seems absolutely insane. Then I kind of compared it to last year. And again, you look at the ones last year. Then we got one guy here who has power shot. We had Conte who had quick step. But apart from that, these guys all have long throw. It's also a bit weird, by the way, because I did actually go and find another player. That seemed to have the the quick step play style as well, who's like a Bundesliga 86 pace guy. But we'll go back to what we were saying a second ago, and that is that these guys will follow the same. He will follow the same trend as Adeyemi in terms of any time you have silver supply. I imagine he should be about 3-4k all the time, because if I go and load up Colwill. Do I have Colwill up at the moment? I think I do. There we go. If we go and load up Colwill, we can see at the beginning of the game, this guy was very expensive. We can see at the beginning of the game, he was about 4.2k and 4k right there. And Minte should be the same thing, if not, probably a little bit more expensive. And he'll be a player you can basically trade with all through the year, because he should, just like how Cole will do, he should hold a minimum of about a K to 2k all through the year, in which you see these insanely high spikes of 10k when he can be used for an Evo, 3k there. See another spike there, because anytime that you can use silvers for objectives, or anytime there's literally any sort of leak about a silver Evo, because he is by far the most meta silver player out there, and obviously he's in the Prem, he's always going to get hyped up. So he's going to be a great guy to not only flip every time there's supply, going and buying him at 10 PM, whatever day we get silver packs, electrum packs, mix packs, and then go and sell him before 6 PM the following day. But it will always be a good card. If he goes down to 700-800 coins, you could just go and buy a bunch of him. Because anytime there's any leaks or rumours about either using silvers for Evos or using silvers for objectives, this guy is just going to absolutely bang, because again, he is significantly better than like any silver out there. I've compared about 20 odd silvers of like the top end players, and again, he's literally got a playstyle plus, which these guys don't have. Although it's a bit weird because even though they said they didn't have any Playstyle Plus, this guy also has a Playstyle Plus. Again, rapid player, plays for Bayern Munich. Actually has quite a nice card with 70 shooting and 70 dribbling. Double 3-star, but yeah, 94 pace and rapid. So the plays with these sort of cards is we're going to go and buy them when they get supplied with silvers. We're talking a lot of times here with marquee matchups. Going to buy them at 10 PM. 10 PM just seems to be the cheapest time. For a lot of trends, 10 PM is the cheapest time. I think it's probably the peak of when people are playing the game, then it drops off. Normally the demand or the amount of people playing the game picks up about 3 PM, peaks about 6 to 7 PM because of content, then slowly drops off to about 10 PM, and then all through midnight it's normally quite dead because it's just kind of NA, and obviously the majority of the player base is in Europe. So yeah, there's that sort of play right there, which is again, anytime silver and election packs, you're looking at players like Minte, players like Okrenda, and again, we might have more players down the line, but you know, these are just some things we've been able to find as of the database because we know the Playstyle Plus it. Next one we're going to be talking about is players used for advanced SBCs. So, there are some combinations in the game that are super expensive because they're needed for advanced SBCs. For example, Aline Reese. And the reason Aline Reese is very expensive is because she's the only rare Brazilian goalkeeper in the game other than Edison or Alisson. So if you want to go and do an SBC that requires, let's say, 11 different leagues but one nation, which are normally found in the foundations if I'm not wrong. There we go, in the hybrid leagues. We can go down to something like this, which again requires exactly 11 leagues, 7 rares, and if we go and look how it's completed, probably won't be using Brazil. I don't think we can get any Brazil examples now. It's using France, but we'll load it up. So you can see what it does here is it basically requires France, it requires loads of rares and loads of different leagues. I think everyone has to be on full chem apart from, is it like 1 or 2 players? So as a result, what happens is everyone picks one nation. Normally those nations are Spain, France, Brazil, Argentina, and then they go and build the squad. And sometimes what happens is they go and build the squad, and then they'll get down to the last position and they go, ooh, I need a rare player from a league I haven't used before. And that's where someone like Aline Reese comes in. She is literally the only rare Brazilian goalkeeper other than Edison and Alisson, which means people are forced to buy her. And people are literally buying her, and this is crazy, she's literally rising in price up until the Ultimate Edition. Not many cards are really rising up until the Ultimate Edition. They're kind of dropping here and, you know, I guess they're dropping here and either peaking here. But she actually went up every single day. I mean, I remember her multiple times being extinct at 10k. So, yeah, these cards are really, really nice to trade with. You know, if you go and pick a few up at the beginning of the game for about 1-2, that is great. And this is just for me to go and show you as well the comparison to a non-rare. Non-rares are okay, you know, average non-rares 450 coins, but Helton Leater, again, kind of an off-league non-rare, only 800 coins, whereas Reese, a rare, 4.8k. So you can see the money's there. So I've gone and done the research, and I've gone and looked through all the Brazilian goalkeepers, and Bento is this year's Aline Reese. He is the only rare Brazilian goalkeeper other than Edison and Alisson. As a result, this guy should be worth about 4 or 5k at the beginning of the game. So how can we utilise knowing that he'll be worth 4 or 5k? If you get on the game early and you see he's only about 1 to 1.5k, presuming they haven't changed the advanced SBCs, this guy would be a great, great investment. Because again, I can almost guarantee he'll be minimum 3-4k. So if you can get on the game early, get a few coins, maybe a few coins excess of 10k that you don't need for trading, well then what you can do is go and pick yourself up some bentos. I've released a video talking about how you can easily get 7k in probably the first hour of the web app. If you get 7k in the first hour of the web app, go invest in 7 of this guy. He goes from 1k to 4k, your 7k goes to 28k in probably about 3-4 hours. So yeah, really, really nice plays right there. And there's loads and loads of combinations like this. So for example, again, Brazilian goalkeeper works well. But another example that worked really well last year was Spanish Premier League woman. So obviously these two have only just transferred into the league. So at the beginning of the game, the only rare Spanish woman we had who's in the WSL was Lucia Garcia. You can see the same sort of thing right here. Rose all the way through to the 23rd at 4.6k. Because, again, a lot of people are using Spain when they're doing the advanced SBCs, but she was the only one from the Premier League and the La Liga. On top of that, she was only kind of the only right mid... she was kind of like the only right mid not from a Spanish league other than Asensio. So if I go and show you rare Spanish right mids, you've got La Liga, La Liga, La Liga, La Liga, Women La Liga, La Liga, Prem WSL, La Liga, Women La Liga, La Liga, La Liga, La Liga. Sorry, Women's La Liga, Women's La Liga, La Liga 2, and then Traore wasn't added at the beginning. Well, as a result, you can see if you need 11 different leagues and you've already used a La Liga left back, you can't use any of the La Ligas. And the same with the Women's La Liga. And more likely than not, what happened is people already use the Women's La Liga and the La Liga, meaning they're forced to go and use Asensio. But even Spain has a few Spanish players with Asensio, Fabian, and there's probably others. I think there's some non-rare centre-backs from like Nantes or something. But yeah, but then there's a chance they already used them, which means the only option they could have used was Lucia Garcia. On top of that, she does have striker position change as well, which also would have been useful potentially for the SBC. So again, another example was her being 4.6k. So have I gone and found an example this year? Well, there's actually, I think she exited the league and these two entered the league. So these are the only two rare Spanish WSL women. So they should be good to trade with. We've got Paula Thomas right here, and we've got ourselves Mariona. Now I think Paula Thomas is probably a little bit better because your sort of wide positions are normally rarer in terms of, well, left back, right back is normally rarer than left mid and right mid, whereas obviously she's got left wing. So yeah, these should be good cards to trade with. Same sort of thing as we were talking about with Bento. Really good to invest in early. If you haven't invested in them early, these are always really good cards to keep on top of bids, keep on top of fluctuations, because if these cards are just rising for 3 days, you know, just because they're rising for 3 days on the daily average doesn't mean that they're going to rise for 3 days on the hourly average. So let's say the game is going to go and come out on the website comes out on the 18th. These cards are going to rise through to the 22nd. So we'll put the 20th there, we'll put the 22nd here. Just because the overall trend is this does not mean this is what actually happens with the market. What actually happens is they go up and then down and then up and then down and then up and then down and then up and then down. But what you see here is they obviously average out of the green, but they go up and down, which means at the first day they probably start off at 1k, then go up to about 3k, then they maybe go down to 2k, but then they go up to 4k, then they go down to 3k, and then they go up to 5k. So what you could do every time is you could go and buy here, sell when they go up, buy again when they dip, sell when they go up, buy again when they dip, sell when they go up. Because if we're confident that stuff's going to keep on rising and rising and rising, it means you can buy every single dip, knowing that they're only going to rise to a price they were before or higher. And again, you can do this with any of these advanced SBCs, which had players like last year who are very expensive. So again, Bento would be good to do that with, Paula Thomas would be good to do that with, and Mirona would be good to do that with. On top of that, you could go and buy them anytime they're supplied. Let's say we go and get ourselves some promo packs, or go and get ourselves maybe an SBC that's tradable, and they get supplied. You can look at buying them at 10 PM and then going and selling them the following day at about 3-4 PM. So the next things we are going to be talking about are players who are commonly used for SBC solution trading. So at the beginning of the game, I can show you someone like Munoz. Munoz at the beginning of the game is kind of your run-of-the-mill non-rare. He was about 350 to 400 coins, right? Not really useful for anything. Doesn't have any crazy utility. He's, again, can just be used in SBCs in like a right back or a centre back from the Prem. But if I go and show you some of these high-rated ones, I think a nicer example is Millard. I can show you at the beginning of the game she was 800 coins. So she was double what Munoz was. But actually, interesting enough, she wouldn't have been 800 coins all day. She just would have averaged out about 800 coins. The reality is even though she was 800 coins, so throw 800 here, even though it says this, what actually would happen is she would have gone up, and then down, and then up, and then down, and then up, and then down, and then up. And what this is sometimes she may go up to, it's a little bit disproportionate, but 2k, and then sometimes she might go down to 500 coins. Sometimes she might go up to 2k, sometimes she might go down to 500 coins. And it's all to do if they're in the cheapest solution or not. So just like I was showing you earlier with that Spanish solution, if I can go and find it, sometimes what would happen is she'd go and make this solution. I mean, she was a French left mid playing in the WSL. We've already said that's quite a rare sort of combination. But sometimes what will happen is you're making this sort of cheaper solution on Footbin, and everyone will go and do the SBC. Because everyone's going to go and do the SBC, the card gets rarer and rarer. And because it's an 82 rated non-rare, because it's a non-rare, like I said earlier about Yeni, she gets discarded a lot. If she gets discarded a lot, there's just not much supply when there's demand. And likewise, an 82 rated non-rare is harder to pack than a 75 rated non-rare. And as a result of that, it also means she's rarer on the market. So these 82 rated non-rares are always about double to sometimes even triple the price of a non-rare. They'll average out at the beginning, double to triple the price of a non-rare, because anytime they're demanded, there's no supply to have that, which means they can triple in price. So again, I'll show you another card right here, like De Vrij. De Vrij at the beginning of the game, 700 coins. We can show you Giroud, beginning of the game, 700 coins. Griffo, beginning of the game, 900 coins. So again, these cards average out more than average out doubling over your cheap card, but what really happens is they just go up and down, up and down, up and down, because they can get very rare. So what the plays are with this, well, what you can do at the beginning of the game, you can go and buy these 82 rated non-rares for about 500 coins at the beginning of the game, and just wait for them to be in a solution. Or what you can do is you can observe when they hit that first high. So for example, you just get a list of like, I don't know, 15 82 rated. I've got a bunch for you already. See, just keep watch of their prices. See any of them go to like 2k. You go right down there, they go up to 2k. Because eventually what happens is they'll get flooded for 500. You go and buy them at 500, and then you can either just keep listing them until they hit 2k, or just keep checking their price every now and again. They might hit 2k, they might hit 3k, and then what you can do is just have a massive pool of players that you'll buy every time they go down to 500 coins, but you'll sell every time they go up to 1.5k. And again, it won't be illustrated on the footbin graphs, because if they go down to 500 up to 1.5k, it'll average out at a k. But that's just not what happens with the, what actually happens is they just go up and down, up and down, up and down a little bit like this. So again, it was an absolute nightmare to find these players, but I've gone and found you these players because I had to click on these, every single one individually to find the non-rares. First one, Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho worked semi-decent last year, works well this year. There's a few combinations that work really nicely. Being from the same nation as the league, so England Prem, works nicely. And then on top of that, being from a top nation out of the league. So for example, let's say it's England Serie A. So like it would have been really good if Chris Smalling was one, because he would have been England, Saudi Arabia, which means he would have been great for SBCs. So like Fabian Schär's not bad, top 5 league. There's SBCs out there that we need to use 11 nations, 1 league, and Schär's good for something like that. Just now I said Millard was good last year, Millard should be good this year, same thing. Then move on to Luhmann. Luhmann should be decent, being Bundesliga, German from the Bundesliga woman. The German Bundesliga also seems to lack in left mid, right mids, left wings and right wings, so it's another reason why she's decent. Then move on to Lilia Ubalia, again, was 800 coins last year, decent being Spanish, Prem, WSL. Although she's not rare, she's still useful for, the solution things. And then move on to Bethany England, again, England, WSL. Guerreiro worked really well last year. Again, top nation, top league, but not the same nation as the league. And then we move on to Ledesma, high-rated non-rare. Should work quite nicely there. So those, again, there are a bunch of players that are just going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. If you really want as well, if the cards are down, you can actually just go and force them into solutions yourself. So, for example, let's say I went and bought a bunch of Millards earlier at 500 coins. Now, Millard only goes from 500 coins up to 2k if she's in the cheapest solutions on Footbin. Now, this should naturally happen because, using an 82 rated non-rare for 500 coins is more efficient than using an 82 rated rare for 700-800 coins. So naturally these cards should be hitting solutions, but what you can do to speed up the process, you can just go and build the solutions yourself. So again, let's say I want to pick up 20-30 Millards, I can then go over to Footbin, go active SBCs, go to foundations, go to hybrid leagues. Then I can go and fit an SBC that I think she'll fit well in. Now, she should just fit pretty well in an SBC that doesn't need too many rares. Let's say this one here that needs 6 rares, although sometimes the more difficult the league, the better. So then let's go and go for that right there. And what I could do is I'd go and throw Millard in, and then I'll just go and build the rest of the SBC for as cheap as possible. The ways of building SBCs for as cheap as possible, you're just going to go over here to, it would be FC25 players. You'll then just go here, version, you'll go gold, non-rare. You then go and click on price, and then what that'll do is they will first off give you all the cards that I guess just aren't listed on the market, and that's probably a fair few right now because we're on footies. But eventually what will happen is you'll get through to the cheapest non-rares. So what you'll do is you put Millard there, you'll fill up the rest of the squad with the cheapest non-rares and rares, and presuming that you've built it as cheap as possible, yours will then become the cheapest solution, and then once it's the cheapest solution, or top 3 cheapest solution, you'll then start seeing up the Millard rise. Again, if you don't want to do that, the card should naturally rise anyway because of either other people doing it or them just naturally hitting the cheapest solutions. If not, again, you can go and force the solutions yourself. So that's a little bit about solution trading. I potentially will go into a bit more detail once the game comes out because it's a very popular trading method for other people, not so much myself, but it's a popular for other people. And there's the last thing we're going to go and talk about. I talked about it briefly. And just like how you can buy players from top nations but like kind of off leagues, there's also some sort of combinations that work really, really well. So right here I've loaded you up every German left mid and left winger in the game. And what you'll find, again, is quite interesting. If we look at the golds, there is literally just one left wing. There is one left wing, and if we go off of last year, there was only one left mid that could have played left wing. That was Butler. So basically, it's a top nation that just has no one in left wing. We may wonder what the relevance is, especially with second position changes. Well, a lot of people are very, very lazy, and because people are very, very lazy, what they do is they just buy whatever position You know, they kind of just buy whatever position they require. So if the SBCs are 4-4-2, they'll only go and buy left mids. They won't go and see who can play left mid. Well, as a result, what happens is with certain combinations, like, you know, German left mid, German left wing, these cards just do very, very well. Like, we look at these spikes right here, down here at 400, up here to 1.1, down here to 500, up here to a K, down here to 360, up here to 1.2K. Again, we didn't know this stuff prior today because we didn't know who was rare and who was non-rare. 400 coins, up there to 900 coins. And this guy did really well because he was the only German Bundesliga player who could play left wing. But if I can move back to Brand, this was the exact same last year. Last year, she was the only default German left winger. And how well did she do? Well, at the beginning of the game, she came out at about 2k. I don't personally think she's 2k because of the demand on the card. I think she's 2k because she's the only German left winger. And it's the exact same thing this year. This year she is also again the only German left winger, meaning she should be about 2k, presuming the SBCs are the same, this year. So if you can go and pick up loads of her for 700 coins at the beginning, perfect. If not, just always try and win her on mass bids. If not, what we can do is we can presume the graph looks a little bit like this. We can see what she goes up to. She drops about half the price, you know, drops about 40% of what she normally is. You can go and pick her up because she should be worth, I mean, last year I think she only rose for 2 days when some rose for about 3-4, yeah. So she rose to the Ultimate Edition. So she's like a prime web app trading player. But what you can also see is she did very well multiple times. 1.6k, 1.6k when there were certain SBCs that probably wanted some sort of left winger from the same nation as the league. So yeah, another thing to keep on top of. And that kind of wraps it up with all the information we've gained from them dropping the official database rather than the player database. And yeah, I think very soon we should start hearing stuff about the web app. And talks about the web app is obviously down at the moment. So with the web app being down at the moment, it probably does, well, it does mean the FC25 is obviously on its way. It's expected to come in about 4 days. I tried doing a little bit of research on when did it go down last year in comparison to going up. And I think it went down, about 6-7 days before it went up. So you've got to hope that they're going to go and change that trend, because otherwise we won't get the web app for a while. It's predicted to come out on the 17th/18th, 2 days before the Ultimate Edition. That's what we did last year. So yeah, hopefully get that. But that wraps that up. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video.